Good afternoon, everybody. A beautiful afternoon in one of the most beautiful places you can imagine, upstate New York's Finger Lakes region, which is where WATKINS GLEN International Raceway resides. Today, we are bringing you coverage of the TC America Touring Car Championship unfolding here at WATKINS GLEN, presented by CrowdStrike. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish, Ryan Marine. We'll be covering the action down in the pit lane for us, and we're looking forward to this one. It has turned into an absolutely beautiful day, and we saw a compelling qualifying session that unfolded here, Cal, getting ready for this one. Again, a doubleheader weekend. This will be the 7th round of the championship, and our point leader doing what he needed to do. However, awfully close.
It really was. I mean, Johann Schwartz laid down a lap very early. Very cool conditions. It was in the upper 50s ambient when everyone went out for that first qualifying run today. Johann immediately leapt to the top, but towards the end of the session, that Nissan 370Z of Joseph Federer really came on strong and only missed out on the pole by a couple of tenths. He could put a challenge to Johann this afternoon for the maximum point score.
All right, and with that, let's get down to Ryan Marine.
Hey, thanks, Greg. You guys mentioned it. It's an incredibly close and competitive field here we have in this class for race one. Yes, we do have Johann Schwartz on pole, the points leader, but beyond that, it's a really tight field. The top five separated by about a half of a second. Outside of Johann will be Joe Federer, who Calvin mentioned earlier, his first front row start in his career in the series. And going back a little ways, I think what's also interesting is this has been a class that's been controlled by and large by BMW historically, but a couple of Nissans starting in the top five. It should be a great show at the grid.
Yeah, no question of that as we take a look at the walk down the grid here and some of the cars that are going to be players here. You talked about what we saw from the hands of Johann Schwartz, but as you said, those two Nissans, Tom Capizzi, another strong qualifying effort, and I think we're going to see more from Jeff Rica in that Genesis Coupe than we saw where he qualified. I have a feeling that that they're still sorting that out just a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. It's great to see Jeff back in our paddock. Had a big hit at VIR, had a concussion, and only just got cleared just a couple of weeks ago, I believe, to get back in a race car. He showed a lot of pace in practice, so actually quite surprised to see him qualify ninth. And Toby Grahovic, who currently sits second in the point standings, way down at the bottom end of the top 10. So look for those two guys to blast through this pack potentially.
And as we watch the cars take their way out onto this racetrack, Cal, take us around this racetrack. It's a fast one.
It really is. It's tremendously challenging. It's just shy of 3.5 miles, 3.4 miles in length, 11 turns. We cut it into 3 sectors. You come down the front straightaway in a very demanding turn one. That really sets up the high-speed S's. You've got to go exit speed off of turn one, up through that first sector, then into the inner loop. You can really use the curbs through here. You want compliancy with the suspension settings, then down into the boot where the sector 2 begins. Really challenging. A lot of late apex corners. A lot of time can be won or lost through that particular sector.
And tons of grip around this place after the repaving they did a few years back.
Monster grip. It's fun. I mean, the conditions they had this morning were just perfect. Everyone on fresh Pirelli P0s for the qualifying run. Really cool ambient. The engines were singing. The track grip would have been the best it's been. And even so, we're only up to a balmy 71 right now. So considering the heat that we've experienced all summer long, this will be a joy for all of the drivers out there this afternoon.
And I have a feeling that the competition, though, is going to be plenty toasty here, just from what we've seen in this one. And you know, one of the things with this facility, you know, with all of that paving, a lot of grip, but I don't think it's that difficult on tires, so that you can really chase this track for a while, can't you?
Oh, you can, and this is only a 40-minute sprint, so I think everyone will be leaning on him pretty quickly. Johann Schwartz, he has a 51-point lead. The real game changer there was in that last race at Portland International Raceway, where he and Grahovic had that battle for the lead. And Grahovic got some damage, he only scored a point, so he lost 24 points in that one moment. And that was really a game changer in terms of this championship. But there's still 150 points on the board, so it's not over yet. But another strong weekend by Johann Schwartz. He could almost put this championship away.
Well, he's seen that swing, hasn't he? He had a big lead early, and then it evaporated after a couple of things, and then he's been able to eke it out once again. And he's been very focused this weekend. I think he understands exactly what you were just talking about. And as you see the cars making their way around, one thing that the Rooster Hall team, Johan and Steve Strymer and the gang wanted to do is to give a shout out to the third driver, Richard Zulman. He's not able to race here this weekend. He's watching with his wife, Colleen. Is overcoming a couple of things, and everybody's thinking about you, Richard. Certainly the team is, and we know that these guys, they've got stickers on the car that says Racing for Richard, so pretty cool beans, and they're going to go out and give it a heck of a run today.
Yeah, we really wish him all the best. They're a wonderful couple, and Richard, we look forward to seeing you back in our paddock, mate.
Absolutely, and as you can see, Johan is racy that last little bit, trying to get anything scrubbed off those tires he can. 40 minutes as we are getting ready to go racing here at Watkins Glen for round 9 of the Touring Car Championship. Johan bringing them up nice and easy here. Ooh.
Good. Terry trying to poke his nose through the middle there and get the jump.
And that is absolutely verboten. We'll see what happens there. I mean, that was way out of line. Green flag flies, and Johan taking advantage of it and is gone already, Cal.
Yeah, talk about take the pressure off immediately. Terry tried to get the run, anticipate the run, didn't get the green. He had nowhere to go with it, had to tuck back in. So maybe they'll judge that he was actually back in line by the time the green flag flew.
Good point.
Look at Grahovic there, trying to get really racy up over the curb there to side by side as they come up through the S's at high speed.
I think he's coming up on the back there. I think that was maybe Robert Nimkoff that was trying to get through, or possibly Capizzi, both in the Auto Technic entries. Now, first time into the bus stop, 2 abreast, 3 abreast in spots. Everybody gets through.
Strymer there in the middle of that battle. There's Nimkoff right alongside. Here comes Jeff Ricker around the outside of the Genesis Coupe.
Trying to sweep the outside. Not going to be made easy here. Strymer, now he's able to come through, but look at Nimkoff coming through the other side.
Grahovic looking for a way around this little melee here right in the middle of the pack. Meanwhile, the top 5 have taken off a little bit.
They've taken off, but did you notice that Federer has closed right back up in the back of Schwartz? He ran him down in a hurry here in this opening lap. So, oh, and a touch there. Strymer goes around. Yeah, it was just the lightest touch. I think it may have been Capizzi, possibly. Yeah, maybe, yeah. I'm not sure. It was one of the Auto Technic cars. And Strymer, it looked like Strymer wasn't getting out of corners that well. He was a little slow, it seemed, coming out of the inner loop. Oh, boy. Is this Grahovic? It is.
Wow.
Wow, that is massive in terms of this championship, Cal.
It is huge because the closest pursuer to Schwartz was Grahovic, and Robert Nimkoff is 70-odd points behind. So
yeah.
Big championship implications early in this one.
Here you see what I was talking about. Schwartz still leads, but that margin that he had a good 10 car lengths by the time he got to turn 1, and Federer has trimmed that down to 1 with Paul Terry right there as well. Let's take a look at what happened here. Yeah, just tapped him. I think that was indeed Capizzi.
Paul Terry here, he's going to get a double draft here. The 370Zs are looking very racy here at Watkins Glen. Schwartz takes that inner line to the inner loop. Hull and Evans going side by side here.
Those two guys, talking to them, they said that they may have been a little bit too conservative in saving tire early in the races here, as Grahovic literally bouncing his way, pogoing down into pit lane. I mean, I know he wants to get it fixed and get back out, but that looks like it's pretty comprehensive damage.
I think that indicates the frustration of Toby Grahovic, the speed that he's taken that very damaged race car back to pit lane.
Didn't see exactly what happened at that.
Late move by Terry. Looks to the inside on the toe of the boot. Can't quite get it done.
I think he's feeling the pressure because Chandler Hull was taking a look at him a couple of times as well. But I was saying, both Evans and Hull said we've been a little too conservative saving tire here. You can see that the whole suspension is broken, but don't know what precipitated it. Did it just break, or did it curb too hard? Did he have contact? We're not sure.
Well, he was right around that little moment that Strymer had, so I'm not sure if there was evasive action taking place immediately after Strymer had his half spin.
Oh, Evans taking a look at his young teammate. Got to the inside there as they turn into turn 10. Did he make it stick? No.
Yeah, lost him a lot of time collectively there on Terry in third. Things starting to settle in now. Pretty aggressive and hairy few laps there.
I'll say. There's a look, that maroon and white Hyundai Genesis of Rika.
Terry up to third, clears Federal pretty easily. I wonder if Joseph has an issue. Now he comes back at him. Must have just got a poor X off that final corner, turn 11.
Well, a run through turn 11, I mean, you got to have a car that's set up, or you've got to be a good driver, but it's also a little bit above bravado with that wall staring you in the face. And early on, some drivers are just maybe not willing to give it quite that bit of a go. Now, here comes Chandler Hull trying to come up along the outside of Federo and clears him down into the bus. So I wonder if Federo might be developing some issue. You're right,
I wonder
Cal.
if he's got a slight power problem. Certainly he's got cleared by 2 cars relatively easily. He's rolling good speed through there, but too much right out in the gray. Just keeps it together.
Oh, boy, you could see the lock on that wheel cranked in trying to get it to turn. Meanwhile, Rico working over Nimkov, and behind him is Jacob Ruud. Great to have him back in the championship. Evans, late move down to the inside of Federo and got pinched.
Yeah, just was having to lean on the brakes just to keep it down to the inside, and by trying to avoid the 370Z on the outside, ended up just spinning. That's unfortunate. It looked like a nice move initially, but just didn't have anywhere to go with it.
When I say got pinched, it wasn't Federo turning down on him. It was just he had to pinch it to avoid, as you said, getting into him.
Yeah, too much speed with the steering input that he ultimately needed there right at apex. 82 was moving slowly here.
Here's the look. Yeah. And I don't think he had any kind of contact either at the moment or into the tires. So he's going to continue, but albeit a bit slowly right at the moment. Is the 33 of Terry now closing in Schwartz. Let's check in with Ryan on Grahovic.
Unfortunately, Toby is out of his classic BMW machine. Can you take us through what happened out on the racetrack?
Yeah, we were running like 3 wide coming out of the toe, and Streimer got sideways, and I tried to avoid him, but there was nowhere to go. And broke the right front oil cooler and the wheel flat tire, so looks like we're out of the race. But we'll see what happens. My classic guys are trying to put it back together. Maybe we can get out and get a qualifying lap for tomorrow.
Are you thinking about what this does for the championship hopes that remained coming into this weekend?
Yeah, it's definitely a big blow in the championship. We still had a shot to come into this race. I don't know what to see how this race ends and see where we're at.
All right, sorry to see you out of the car.
Thank you.
I think you just see in that replay, Cal, and it was Capizzi that he got into the backup, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looked like it. Capizzi got into Streimer, and then unfortunately for Toby, nowhere to go. And that's what happens when you have a poor qualifying run. You're buried in the pack where a lot of the action is, as opposed to relatively clean air up front. A couple of races in a row now for Toby.
Yeah, and he's such a talented driver, former champion in this category, and he's had, I think, 6 second-place finishes this year, which is frustrating enough when you've been a champion, and then to have something like this unfold as well.
Although Paul Terry's not going away, he's certainly keeping the heat on our leader right now, and championship leader, Johann Schwartz. Just laid down the fastest lap of the race at a 2:03.9, did Paul Terry. We documented in qualifying this morning, Greg, that Paul really was struggling with the braking system on that Nissan earlier in the season. He and the team, Redden Racing, along with Vesko Kozrov, went to work and got it figured out, and now it's given him the confidence and the pace, and most importantly, the consistency.
Yes, there is. That's the word, isn't it? He's never been short on speed. We know that. But every once in a while, with that braking issue, as it turned out. Look at the attack he's putting on here on Schwartz as they roll through that final turn. Johan Screw said they actually had some little gremlins they were dealing with in qualifying, or in practice. They worked through all of them, and they said the reward was the run Johan put in qualifying. They said that was the result of really staying with it. That Rooster Hall crew putting it together here. And Johan says there's somebody very special that is always listening and watching these races over in Denmark. That so we talk about the team and Johan's wife and the lot, but you haven't said a lot to her, so he asked if we could say, "Hey, Mut," to Mom, who's sitting in Denmark and watching the racing right now, and he's leading right now, but under pressure as Terry once again so quick.
He is. He's looking menacing, so Johan will have to draw on every ounce of experience that he has, but he's got a very aggressive and fast driver right on his heels right now. It's going to be a long 30 minutes to keep him at bay, it looks like.
Well, this is going to be an interesting dynamic because you said it, Terry is aggressive. And Johan and Toby have had some absolute bumper-to-bumper races and the like, and Johan said it's just a pleasure to race with Toby, but Terry is a little bit of a different animal sometimes, and he's willing to go after it.
And again, with the big picture, Paul Terry not in the championship hunt with a difficult start to the year. Johan has a healthy points lead. His nearest contender is out of this race, so you'd have to think if it gets a bit too dicey here, Johan may want to let him go and just sit behind him for a little bit and let things develop. It's a long 30 minutes to be defensive and thwart the challenge.
And if you start to defend too much, then you invite Chandler Hull to come right up and join the fray a little bit, and Nimkoff and Federo, etc. Right now it's mano a mano. And I would think the smart thing at this stage, wouldn't it be, Cal, is for Terry, instead of attacking, maybe is just to run with them and let the two of them build that gap up.
Yeah, I think he's got the look of wanting to lead this race as soon as he can, though. So we'll have to see what sort of patience he develops. Gets a good run down here, the little downhill run into that first turn break zone.
Watch him here climbing these S's. Boy, and you've got to be, as a driver that's leading in this scenario.
The perfect draft right now. Johan will probably stay to the right here, make him take the long way around if he's going to look for the lead. Actually gives him a lane, but Terry decides to get back online to attack the inner loop. Looking pretty smooth there. He's not looking like he's making any rash moves right now. Okay, long time to go. Hopefully the team is in his ear, just talking him through this and guiding him.
Guy who's in his ear is probably named Kozarov. That's pretty good guidance.
Yeah, he certainly has a ton of experience and a lot of racecraft, so if he can give him any of his thought process, and the key is listening.
Yeah.
You need someone who's got good advice, but the key on the other end of it is someone who's actually listening. I'm not saying that Paul won't, but I think for Schwartz, I mean, he's been in this situation many times this year. Yes, he's had 5 wins, but they've not all come easy. So he's actually had to withstand pressure on a constant basis. And I think right now all he's thinking about is saving his tires a little bit, even though, as we said, this is a high grip track, but not a high degradation track. So doesn't have to factor that in too much, but he certainly wants something left if there's a reset at the end with a caution or something like that.
Well, he certainly isn't using as much track as Terry is he? So I think you're right. There's that little bit of conservation going on inside that West Virginia University BMW, but that Paul Terry Trucking Nissan is relentless.
He is being on high alert because Paul may just get to the point he suddenly just dives it down the inside, and there's you thinking, okay, he's all set, he's going to follow me through, and suddenly the car is down on the inside of the entry to one of these high-speed corners.
There's the margin. Great battle for third behind them. Hull, Nimkoff, Rudin.
That's really compressed.
Yes. Sizable margin back to that battle at this stage. Boy, Jacob Ruud has made a... Here we go, Terry looking anyway. I was going to say Jacob Ruud has made a really nice return to this championship here. And that little bit of offline entry. Oh, big wiggle by Nimkoff.
And he's through.
Yeah.
Got by Hull there after the run up the S's. Ruud is looking for a way as well. He's got that inside line. He should be able to hold it right there. Chandler Hull is having a great season. Doesn't have a ton of experience. A couple of podium runs this year already. Very, very impressive young man.
He was telling me earlier his only real experience at this track was in a Spec Racer Ford. Just to get some track knowledge of this place. He said, not a lot of transitions other than it's 4 wheels, but he said it did help me learn the track a little bit. So Nimkoff now through, and Root through as well. So Nimkoff third, Root fourth. Hull slips to fifth.
I didn't run the long circuit that often. We used to run the short circuit predominantly when we ran Atlantics and stuff here. But when I did run the full circuit, it's tricky. It looks pretty straightforward, but there's some real nuance to getting that right. There's a lot of speed to be found in the boot section, as we call it, all the way from turn 6 through turn 9.
Coming up now toward that last turn, 11. Here's the margin up front. Non-existent. Here he got a little run this time.
Yeah, he does, and he's going to have a look. Going to keep it together. Watch the under. Ryan gave him plenty of room, and that's allowed Terry to cement the position change.
I wonder if that's exactly, though, going back to what you were talking about. It's like, don't let him get close enough to have some sort of an incident.
I think so. I mean, it's a big points day, big point swing. And we talked about clinching the championship here this weekend. This would be a wonderful way to tick the first box on the way to that.
This is interesting. That battle for third, that group had been pretty much alone, but that whole, what is a third of a lap where they were side by side scrapping and arguing, way wide there, has allowed Rika, along with Federer and Brumman, to come right back up into that battle for the third spot.
Yeah, Rika's really on it right now. So had the fastest lap on the, not the fastest lap of the race, but he was the fastest man on the racetrack last go around, catching this pack.
Yeah, Strymer, who got nudged into that spin early, has that fast lap of the race. 2:03.4 as he's trying to come back up, and that's very important, as we talked about. You heard Toby Grahovic saying they're trying to get that car fixed so we can get out and set a fast lap, because it's the fast lap in the race that determines where you start race 2 tomorrow. So that's pretty crucial. Meanwhile, great run by Paul Terry. Ooh, a little wide there at the exit of turn number 8. What are they saying in the Reardon pit?
Yeah, Laura Tallman oversees this Reardon racing operation. Paul has been flying so far and just made the move the last time by to take the lead. What has he said about the race car?
He is not saying anything. He's got his hands full. So we want him to stay focused and just run a really tidy, clean race.
He's got his hands full, but clearly he's got a fast car. The Nissans have looked strong so far this weekend. Does this track seem to suit them pretty well?
Yeah, the Nissan platform is awesome. I think we've given him a really good car this weekend, and he's driving it really, really well, and just the way we want it to go. So, yeah, it's great to be running the 370Z out here.
Still quite a ways to go, and a good driver behind him. How confident do you feel that he's got the car that he needs to bring this thing home?
I'm confident he has the car for long-run pace. Definitely. So now it's a mental game, right? Anyone who's been out there knows it's really easy to make a mistake with that kind of pressure behind you.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's this is when you've just got to have that absolute razor sharp focus.
Yeah, but he's been really tidy here today. This is one of the cleanest races I've seen him run this year, not just because he's leading, but just his approach, his attack, the patience that he's displayed, and now the fact that he's hitting his marks and not making any key mistakes right now.
Yeah, once he got to the front, we were talking about how previously Johan seemed to be running a lot less racetrack and the like. Now, as you said, Terry certainly looks to be smoothing that all out here. There's a look at Chandler, Chandler Hull, who has dropped back just a little bit and is now under attack from Jeff Ricka. This is for 5th overall.
Looks like Chandler's handling may have gone away from him a little bit. To be quite as sharp. So again, there's a bit of a guesstimate. It's a little bit warmer than they ran earlier this morning, so maybe they just got the setup a little bit wrong. Tire pressure's a little bit off, but see if he can regroup here. He's been having a very strong season so far.
And look at up front here is Jacob Ruud, who, as we said, hasn't run this season right now, is all over the back of Robert Nimkoff right here, this first duo in the battle for the 3rd and final podium spot here. And Jacob, he ran and the last time he ran was in 2017. He had 5 starts in the championship with Winding Road Racing and had a 4th at Utah. And he is looking to go one better than that 4th here in his first appearance of the season.
Nothing like a podium.
Yeah, exactly. You can taste it, I think. That's a classic BMW entry that he is running, so carrying the colors for that team after Grahovic's issues. Nimkov has really been impressive in the middle stages of this season, though. Some incredibly strong runs for him. Podiums.
Third in the championship right now, and with Grahovic's problems, not inconceivable that he could leap up to second by the end of the weekend. A lot depends what happens tomorrow in terms of Toby's car being fixed and running at 100%.
Now, which begs the question, sort of what we were talking about with Schwartz battling with Terry, and how hard does he fight him? How hard does Nimkov fight Ruud here, who's not in the championship at all? And the swing from third to fourth, point-wise, quite a bit less than first to second.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
then it's a podium. As
yeah, there's calculations that drivers will have going on in their head, but you know, maybe he's not totally aware of Grahovic's situation. I think for me as a driver, you want to be on that podium. To me, there's a big delta between third and fourth, so he's not going to give up easy, even though Ruud now gets that inside line into the brake zone for turn 8.
And I noticed too, while Rika was trying to figure out a way to get by Hull, Federal snuck by Rika.
He's come back alive, hasn't he,
yeah,
Joseph?
He dropped off early, but
yeah, I'm not sure what the deal was there. I was bumped into Eric Powell yesterday, who said, look out for that tech sport car in terms of the 370Z. Eric obviously on hand to do testing and development with the team in both of their categories, TCA and this TC entry as well. So he said it would be good here, and he was spot on. But so I'm not sure quite what happened to Joseph to fade like he did early.
Yeah. And once again, even though Terry was able to get through, Johan has absolutely not let him just run off into the distance here. Another look at the Pascal. It's really, really clean.
Yeah, it's a really wide open brake zone there. So if you get a good run off the toe of the boot, you crest that hill. And you know, the toe is one of those corners, you know, if you've not got the balance in the race cars, really it's easy to scrub speed there, as now we see the battle resume with Nimkov coming back at him up the back straightaway.
Had Nimkov well placed. Jacob did with making sure Nimkov was on the outside. Coming in there, not a lot you can do. And then here's this tasty little battle between Chandler Hull.
Yeah, this is nice. There's Federal around. It's wide there. He's got to be careful.
Yep. Oh, and Hull dropping a tire too.
Yeah, Federal's been out there before. It's taken him a while to get back in the groove. It's a great little battle there for that. What is currently 5th position.
Yep, Hull, Federal, Rika, and then 8th, 9th, 10th completing the top 10. The 21 of Brumman, the 81 of Strymer, and the 82 of Evans.
3 different manufacturers right here. Sometimes you'll see a car that'll just accelerate better. It's like, did the driver get a better run? Sometimes it can just be the sweet spot of the gear ratio with the individual manufacturer and transmission, more ideally suited. Sometimes you just come to a racetrack where you're in between gears, you know, like second might be too low, too low, third too tall.
It's not like you can, in these cars, you're not allowed to just swap out gears and the like. Oh, he's looking down the inside.
Yeah, watch for Rika, though, to take advantage there. He's going to lose a bit of momentum. Nowhere for Rika to go with it as they enter the final turner. Curbing out there is just a nice little safety net.
Yes.
If you need it. You don't want to be using it all the time and then need more. There's nothing left, but certainly it's pretty compliant there, pretty low curbing.
Well, you were wondering what may have, oh, big wiggle by Federal there as he really is trying hard. And Cal, you'd wondered what may have been the problem at the start that had him drop back. I think Ryan has found the answer.
Indeed, I checked in with the tech sport team, and good news, there really wasn't a problem. He just slipped back, got caught out position-wise, and lost a couple of spots, and he's been trying to regain his confidence since then. The crew said he's not much of a talker, so we really don't know a whole lot more than that, but car seems to be good, car's fast. We saw that obviously in qualifying with his first career front row start, so I expect to see him make a charge here in the last couple minutes of this race.
All right, we'll keep an eye out for that. Rika is the one who's being really aggressive on Federo's bumper at this stage.
Joseph's hands were pretty busy there through the inner
yes,
loop.
they were.
Eating up the curve and then trying to land it and keep it all together, and just being pretty patient here. We've seen that displayed over the years, but certainly that Genesis Coupe is great to see it back in action, and it's a potent little race car.
Jeff delivers when he gets behind the wheel, no problem with that. You notice on the side of Federo's car it says Bossman. That's his own little company. It's men's products that it's I think an Amazon sales line that he has put together, and it's doing quite well. He's just trying to figure out a way through now on Hull for that 5th spot. Up front, Terry and Schwartz continue to have that margin well covered here. Back to the Ruud-Nimkov battle. And they too have about 3-4 seconds. Oh, and Federo, whoa! That was a late move, and I was watching as Hull was turning in, and Federo recognized that and didn't try and force the issue, but it cost him a little bit there, you see.
It does, and they're such high-speed corners, and you're probably trying to make a move that's never going to quite pay off unless the other driver's in real trouble. So he kind of stuck his nose in there, then you lose a lot of momentum. Fortunately for him, Ricker wasn't quite close enough to take advantage. Schwartz has the fastest lap of the race, Greg, at a 2:03.3, so a lot of strategy playing out here. Under 15 minutes to go. Is it hammer time for Johann Schwartz? Does he want that lead back?
He just set that too, so he's got pace in this. And we've been talking about it, that he's been very, very clean and precise. And I think he's got some tires left. Those Pirelli P0s, I think, are in good shape. We'll see what happens here as Nimkov continues to find a way to get back around Jacob Ruud. And has, in fact. So Jacob has actually dropped off just a little bit. Oh, and Federo's through now on Hull.
Yeah, so that moment he had early on, he obviously lost his rhythm a little bit, and now he's regrouped. Car's got pace, so now if he can just clear the charge from behind and just focus on his lines, maybe we'll see what his lap times can be here. Been running in the 203, high 203 range. Strymer's recovered nicely. It has a 203.4 on the board. That could put him on the front row for tomorrow.
Yeah, it was fast lap for a long time until Johann just eclipsed it a little bit. Now Rika all over the back bumper of Hull. And Strymer, who has been running consistently about a half second faster than this group in front of him. He's not out of this one yet with 13 or so minutes left.
How much does Johann Schwartz want those extra points? It's a big swing from first to second. It's a 7-point swing. They really reward first place with this point structure, which I like.
Well, that's what he's got to overcome. Oh, and they got Classic BMW getting Toby back on track. Now, you can see Toby really being careful and checking before he pushes at all to see just what the story is. But I have a question here. There's a certain percentage of laps you have to finish to be classified. If you get a really good lap but you're not classified, is that going to count for your starting lineup?
I think it does.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it does. So, because you could set a lap and then get taken out 5 minutes in, it doesn't mean you have to start at the back for tomorrow. I mean, the key for Toby are the two things: that they want to test the car and see if there's anything really untoward for tomorrow, and if it's in good shape, see if he can lay down any sort of lap. Unfortunately, with the point structure now, you've got to do 75%, which he should just be able to do.
Yep.
75% of the race would be 30 minutes on time. At least, so he'd be good for that, but points are only awarded down to 10th, and he's not going to be outside that.
Well, we've seen this team show up at certain events on occasion with 7 cars, so if anybody can get that car not only fixed, but fixed and aligned and ready to go, I think it's Classic BMW.
going to be fascinating to see how much Johan is willing to put it on the line here and risk.
I agree. We should give a nod with that repair. I mean, Classic BMW is the name of the team, but the shop, if you will, that does a lot of work on those cars is Fast Track. And they have done a superb job, and certainly have here, in getting Grahovic back out. Well, after dropping off a little bit, once Nimkov got back through on him, Ruud has closed that margin back up again.
Yes, it's really a neat little setup here with the battle for the lead up front, then Nimkov and Ruud for the final podium position, then that battle for the top 5.
Darrell has kind of gapped those guys now just a little bit. He's really put his head down.
I thought he would, because he just got out of rhythm, it seemed, after that moment early in the race. And now look at this, Schwartz is right on the tail of Terry. A new level of pressure has just been put on him.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if what Johan's maybe thinking is, look, I'm going to just hound him, pressure him. If he makes a mistake and I can get by as a result of that with no risk, fine. Oh, look at Rickett now sweeping the outside of Hull. That's for 6th. But Strymer, what a comeback charge he's put on.
Yeah, after that spin and delay on the early stages of this race. So Roosterville have got good cars here this weekend.
Yes, they do. See if he can do anything through the toe here. But getting back to this, what I was going to say was, you know, he'll hound him, and if he can get him into a mistake and an easy pass, maybe I'll take it in that win and those 7 points. But I'm not going to do anything where he can come down on me or whatever.
Love the rhythm through this section, particularly with the track and the grip level that it now has. It was always fun through here. Just got to have really smooth inputs. You try too hard and you try and get on the brake a little bit later, just will really unsettle the car. You just got to be super smooth and control the platform.
One of the things I like about this track is, I mean, obviously you get turn 1, any of the downhill fall-away corners, you get that little bit of off-camera, but any of the corners that are sort of flat, there's always that little bit of bank to it, so you can really roll some speed through there, and it's just fun to watch.
Turn 1 I always found tricky. It's a real sweet spot there in terms of getting the turn in just right, sort of like falling into the bowl through there. And this is one of those racetracks, particularly through the section, the booth, from 6 through 9, just got to be super patient, very technical. You got to be spot on with the line through there.
Ruud got a heck of a toe that time, but Nimkov had that Auto Technic BMW perfectly placed. Now look at Ruud trying to counter, get down to the inside.
Yeah.
That was nice. Changed his lineup through the inner loop to try and catch him by surprise at the exit.
That all started at the beginning of the inner loop by Nimkov's approach in there. He got a little bit offline and was trying to catch it back up, and it almost opened up the door for Ruud. A fun track because if you're close, it gives you enough racing room to make that move to the inside, but then there's enough grip everywhere for someone to run the outside line and try and maintain.
Darrell now by himself in that 5th spot. He's running over half a second quicker than the Nimkov-Ruud duo in front of him, so that's not done yet. Strymer has Evans, and Evans, remember, had that moment and that bit of contact, and he's looking really racy, coming after Strymer.
Really close there, a little bobble by Steve, just gets it back together, gets on the power, just as Evans was about to pounce. Fantastic racing. It's got to be a fun class to run in wherever you are, whether you're battling for the lead, whether it's 5th, whether it's just inside the top 10. Some really classy drivers and some good racing.
Yep. You find somebody and get into a great battle. So, I mean, we talked about Strymer's comeback, but I mean, Evans too had that spin down in the toe of the boot. Just gathered it up smartly and run down Chandler, his teammate, essentially. With 6 minutes 15 to go.
Evans is going to pull a big draft here by that 2-car punch in the air that he's going to get right in front of him.
Just couldn't do anything with it that time, did he?
It's great racing there. I mean, when you're up close like that, just seeing your line still, you're really relying on the guy in front. If he has a little bobble, so hard to make the right move. Strymer looks to the inside. That would be a late one.
Obviously, when you're up that close behind somebody, I mean, you're literally almost driving through their windshield, too.
You are. It's one of those corners, the uphill climb out of the toe. You really just need to be on the power super early and just deal with the line and the radius that the car wants to take from that point. But there's no recovering if you're late on the power. That's why sometimes you see an easy pass down in this brake zone by someone who didn't quite execute that.
All right, 5 minutes to go. And, Terry so far has been up to the challenge, Cal.
He's been simply perfect, really.
Yeah.
Johan's going to hang in there and just see if he can keep the pressure on. That'll only intensify as Paul Terry has less and less laps to go to a checkered flag potentially. I just don't see Johan take a massive risk though.
Well, we've talked about it already a number of times today, is that the experience that allows you, when discipline is called for and patience is called for, to be able to say, yep. And, you know, he wants to win as bad as anybody, but what's more important, a win today or a championship? And being up on that stage in Las Vegas.
That's right.
You know,
you'd hate to let someone back in
yep.
by dumping a load of points. So, but the rounds are gradually going to ease away, and I think it'll be easier for Johan to stay aggressive for wins when we get to the next event. But here this weekend, I think it's all about protecting and consolidating.
Down into the boot. 3.5 to go. Oh, and the 0.9 of Greg Netzkowski. It's the DRS, Dynamic Racing Solutions BMW. Has found the barrier. Is that down by pit out?
Looks like it, yeah. They've dropped a wheel up and over the curb on the exit one and either got turned or spun back to the inside, I would have to imagine.
Yep.
And certainly for Johan Schwartz, the team needs to be on. If you got anything, as we know, see the yellow is flying. So
yep.
This may be game over in terms of the win.
I think it's been settled. Yeah, there's no way they can clean that up in 3 minutes. Well, and this will give, if nothing else, it'll give Johan, if he feels he needs one, the excuse to say, well, I was going to go after him in that last lap, so. But I think he was more than comfortable with this big picture, picture on the big prize thinking here.
Yep. Great day for Paul Terry.
Yeah.
This is a pretty awesome run.
And you're right. I mean, I think this was the best drive I've seen him put in the time I've been announcing him, certainly in this championship. It was just heady. And I really wonder if that isn't because now he's got confidence in that car and the brakes. The car's been fast, and but he's got confidence now that he can actually work strategies and do what he needs to do. And he executed beautifully today.
Well, how a car handles all begins with how it, handles when you hit the brakes.
Yes.
What does it give you? Is it consistent? Does it give you a solid platform to get the car turned in? And if there's inconsistencies there, you're just going to be chasing your tail constantly.
Well, there's nothing more unnerving than never knowing when you're at a fast track, when you have to be on the brakes, what are you going to have? And I know when I was doing some racing, it was nowhere near at the level that you did, but I spent a lot of time with the team, whatever team I was running with, whatever, just give me some good brakes. I can deal with anything else.
Right.
I just want confidence there. So, But yeah, at this point, we're definitely going to finish under the safety car. So again, I think a big shout out to the 810 of Jacob Ruud for Classic BMW being able to come back after being away from this championship for a while and put in an absolutely superb run. And a couple of great comeback drives, Federo and Strymer and Evans. They ultimately maybe didn't get to show where they could ultimately finish here, but a lot to be entertained with in this one.
Yeah, there was a lot to chew on there. Some good little battles throughout the field.
And Grahovic got a lap, but it's not a lap he's capable of. I mean, he's going to be starting right at the back.
Yeah, just struggled in qualifying and then was in the wrong place at the wrong time there with the incident in front of him.
See the cleanup continuing for Greg Nitzkowski. And we haven't said a lot, but he has a teammate for the first time in a while here running in the 06 car, and it's Hannah Zellers. Nice to have her in the championship. She's running in the Celine Cup here as well, but nice to have her behind the wheel.
She down a nice lap there. Best lap is only a second off of the fast time of the day, so that's very, very respectable.
So unless something happens here on this yellow flag checker lap, stranger things have happened. But
Ricker got a nice lap in towards the end of the show, Greg.
2, 3. Oh, yes, he did.
He's going to be right up alongside Schwartz on the front row tomorrow, and with a cleaner start.
That's right.
Genesis has maybe got the pace.
Yeah, he snuck in quicker than Strymer, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I think Terry, today's winner, could be back on row 3 even. It's Evans and Strymer will probably lock out row 2.
All right, here we come through the final couple of corners. Here at Watkins Glen, exit of the boot section, turn 9. I'm sure Terry would have sure loved to have driven under the checkered flag at speed here, but I'm sure he will be delighted with this moment.
He'll take it.
You bet. I mean, you know, you look at his speed this year. Coda, he had a fast lap but only finished 7th, and a fast lap from pole. He had a fast lap and no finish at VAR. You know, I mean, he's had the speed.
Yeah.
There's been no question of that. Then they take care of the brakes, and he immediately podiums at Portland. And it was pretty fair evidence that, all right, now we'll see what he can do. Well, guess what? Next round up, brings it home with a win over the runaway point leader. That says a lot.
And you'd have to think it's no big surprise, right? I mean, what Vesco did with a similar platform, similar car last year. So same team.
Yep.
Terry had some solid performances, particularly at the beginning of last year. So it's just taking time to develop to kind of get back to where they needed to be.
Yep. So nice job for Paul Terry. Again, Johan, very heady race, accepting those second place points, knowing that he was well ahead of his championship contenders, and stretches that margin out, and Nimkov completing the podium after a great little battle with Jacob Ruud. And all at the start here, you can see, I think you're right, because I think Terry made the move, then was able to get back in line before they threw it, and they said, okay. It allowed, though, Johan to get a big margin, and Federo sweeping down into that second spot.
It did, and then we saw this little incident as Strymer gets turned. Unfortunately, Toby Grahovic got wrapped up in it, major damage to the right front corner.
And then this move is Terry ducking to the inside of Federo, and I think you were right. It's just Federo got a little out of rhythm, and then a beautiful move by Terry down into 1.
Yeah, he was in similar positions, but just held on and showed his patience. Then this was a great battle going on between Ruud and Nimkov. Ultimately, Nimkov got back around him for that final podium position.
And then this incident by Greg Nitzkowski brought out the caution late in the race. We finished under yellow, and Paul Terry getting the win over Johan Schwartz and Robert Nimkov, completing the podium here at Watkins Glen. So Terry, Schwartz, Nimkov, as we talked about here, then Rude, Federal completing your top 5. But you made a good point there, Cal. Jeff Ricca with that great lap late in the race will be starting, it looks like, outside of the front row. Strymer will be back up at the sharp end of things. So I think tomorrow's race is going to be every bit as entertaining.
Should be a good one. Terry coming from the 3rd row.
We'll see you then.